As a veteran of the United States Marine Corps, stand by. We're going to go with a roll call. Roll call. Fisting music, please. Bugle call, right.
Good morning. I'm surprised you guys didn't get up and join in that dance. My name is Steve Uring. I'm the mayor of Malibu, and my role here this morning is to welcome everyone. So let me begin by saying welcome one and all. We're all very glad to see you here. Today is our opportunity to pay tribute to the brave men and women who served and continue to serve our great nation in the United States Armed Forces. On this day, we honor the selfless dedication and unwavering commitment of our veterans who have sacrificed so much to ensure our freedom and to protect our way of life. It is because of their courage and devotion that we all enjoy the liberties and privileges we hold dear. Today, we also acknowledge the importance of supporting our veterans as they transition back to civilian life. It is our duty as a society to ensure they receive the care, the opportunities, and respect they have rightfully earned. During today's ceremony, we're going to hear from veterans who will share their stories and experiences, shedding light on the challenges they faced and the triumphs they've achieved. These recollections will remind us that the debt we owe veterans can never be fully repaid, and how important it is to show our appreciation through our words and actions. In conclusion, let us never forget the sacrifices made by our veterans, and let us strive to create a world where their courage and dedication are celebrated every day. Today we come together to honor and express our gratitude to these heroes, not just in words, but in a community celebration to acknowledge all that they have done for us. Once again, thank you all for joining us in this important ceremony. God bless our veterans, and God bless the United States of America. Okay, let's give another hand to the swing dancers, Posse, Arthur White. It was an outstanding performance, and I'm pretty sure there's no point in my life I could have done any of that. So I give them a lot of credit. I would just like to acknowledge two people. One, Mr. John Payne. I've known John a long time. I don't think he voted for me as mayor, but it's okay, man. He began his military career while still in high school as a seaman in the Naval Reserve, and he hasn't stopped doing that ever since that point in time. He values his time on active duty, serving 37 years before retiring with the rank of captain in 1995. Today, he continues to extol the Navy and naval careers as the leader of the Navy League in Malibu. So John, thank you very much for all you've done. You've been running these programs for a number of years, so thank you. Okay. The last person I'd like to speak to or talk to about before I leave is our Master of Ceremonies, Chris Garcia. Chris is an American businessman, commentator, and former U.S. government official. In his government role, Chris was chief authority on business policy and national initiatives affecting minority-owned businesses. Mr. Garcia operates with a clear mission: create strategic partnerships and regional alliances that strengthen the United States and increase its overall economic viability. Military and technological competitiveness in the world are also his objectives. Mr. Garcia earned his degree in economics as a Bill Gates Millennium Scholar at Pepperdine University here in Malibu. I have known Chris for a very long time, and I'm happy to now bring him up. Chris, please.
Steve Uring, everybody. I love that you are mayor now, Steve. Steve and I first met in 2010 on a campaign, and it's so nice to see the city in good hands under Steve. So thank you, everybody, for joining us today. It's really just an incredible day here in Malibu that we have to enjoy. I'd like to say thank you for joining us on the 24th annual Malibu Veterans Day public ceremony. It's both an honor and a privilege once again to be here, because as Ani knows and everyone on the committee knows, it's been many years that I served on the committee prior to serving as the MC. And let's get this ceremony started. So as we have a jam-packed program, please give a warm welcome to the commanding officers, the executive officers, training officers, Command Chief Petty Officer, Color Guard team, and the USC cadets to do the posting of the colors under the direction of John Steiner. Please give a warm welcome to Mia Stulak, as Gannon Hayes is feeling under the weather. Thank you, Mia, for stepping in. Mia will be presenting the national anthem for us. Mia is a classical vocalist. from Lincolnwood, Illinois. And she's currently studying vocal performance at Pepperdine University under the direction of Louise Lovequist. She'll be performing the national anthem to us. Let's give her a round of applause, please.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave.
And next we ask that you please stand and join me in welcoming our local Boy Scout Troop 224 and Cub Scouts Pack, which is under the leadership of Tarek Shrabadi and Anna Gorby for the Pledge of Allegiance. Come on up, Scouts.
Malibu Pack 224. Cub Scouts. Cub Scout salute. Let's do the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please be seated. Now, it's with great pleasure. I told Ani that 24 hours ago I was in Kuala Lumpur, but I told her I would never miss this event for anybody, especially Ani. So today I'd like to thank the committee as well for this, again, the best ever. So it's with great pleasure that I'd like to extend a heartfelt welcome to Jay Goodsby Smith of Pepperdine University, where she currently serves as the inaugural Vice President of Community Belonging and Chief Diversity Officer. Her research areas are workplace inclusion and diversity and inclusion related veterans issues in higher education. Please join me in welcoming Jay Smith.
Good morning. On behalf of Pepperdine University's Office for Community Belonging, we salute you, veterans. Two forces have been willing to die for me. One is divine, the other earthly, and I'm surrounded by you today, veterans. And although I did not serve, I'm your advocate because I would have no breath without the Korean War veteran soldier who was my father. I would not be mother to Daniel without my ex, a soldier. I would not be mother to Aya without my late husband, a sailor. I would not have my best friend Vivian, who's a soldier. And I would not have heard the booming baritone of my high school principal, who was a Tuskegee Airman. And I won't even name my uncles who were World War I and II soldiers, and my aunt who was a WAC, or my score of cousins and in-laws who were and are soldiers, airmen, and Marines. Goosebys, Dailies, and Smiths serve and serve well. I share these things to let you know I share these things to let you know that my happy Veterans Days and my thank you for your services are deeply rooted. I have the flags as receipts. If it suits you, please bow your heads with me to pray. God, we come to you grateful. Grateful for another day to do your will. Grateful for another day to make amends. Grateful for another day to see our families. Grateful for simply another day to take a breath and celebrate making it thus far along life's journey. You told us to love with all of our hearts, our minds, and our strength. Then you told us to love our neighbors, our fellow humans, as we love ourselves. You told us that there's no greater love than to lay down one's life for one's friends. Lord, we are so grateful today for being in this room full of love, with people surrounded by men and women who were willing to do just that, lay down their lives for their friends. Though they valued their lives just as much as anyone, they were willing to risk going into harm's way, making the ultimate sacrifice if necessary to enable all of us to be one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So on today, Lord, we ask you to help us be one nation, for you told us a house divided against itself cannot stand. We ask you to help us to remember who we are under God, for you told us that earth is yours and the fullness thereof. We ask you to help us remember who we are, indivisible. We are one in you, sisters and brothers, united against evil, not against each other. We ask you to give us wisdom to realize you called us to freedom, not freedom and liberty to be selfish, but freedom to love and to serve one another. And justice, Lord, justice for all. Lord, help us to act justly and promote fairness, to love mercy, to forgive each other, and to walk humbly without pride. Thank you, Lord, for those who sponsored, created, hosted, and coordinated this event. Please bless their labor tenfold. We ask your special blessings and covering over our veterans, those here today and those elsewhere. Please give them the joy and peace that comes from knowing they did a noble work and did it with excellence. And please bless their families and loved ones who sacrificed and prayed and served along them. And please bless their current and future endeavors beyond all they could ask or imagine. Finally, Lord, please bless the words and actions of every program participant and prepare us in the audience to be edified and inspired by their words to serve in our own unique ways. Hallelujah and amen.
Thank you so much. Next, we're excited to hear from our 6 veterans today who are with us on stage, who will be sharing their stories embodying the theme, Legacy of Generations in Service. It's why we're all here. And now let's welcome our first speaker, Lieutenant Commander Dan Rippinger, who was commissioned in the United States Navy in 1976 after graduating from Northwestern University and its NROTC program. Following Naval Flight Officer training in Pensacola, Florida, He was assigned as an A-6 Bombardier Navigator at Naval Air Station Whidbey Island. He retired from the United States Navy as Lieutenant Commander in 1994. Please give him a warm welcome.
I'm just glad I'm going first up here. I got a feeling I'm going to have some tough acts to follow with my fellow veterans. But good morning, fellow veterans and attendees. I am humbled and grateful to share this Veterans Day with you today. As Chris indicated, this year's theme is Legacy of Generations in Service. As such, I suppose you could say a call to service was in my DNA. I was a son of the greatest generation. My mother and father, Helen and Joe Rippinger, both served in World War II. They met while serving at March Air Force Base, right down the road here in Riverside, California. My mother was an Army nurse at the base hospital, and my father was going through B-24 training. After his training, he was deployed to the China Theater. He returned in 1945, and my parents were married at March Air Force Base. After the war, they eventually settled in Aurora, Illinois, where I was born, and they raised a family of 6. I also had several uncles who served in World War II, one of whom, Francis Rippinger, died in the Battle of the Bulge. I visited my Uncle Francis's grave in Luxembourg, the Luxembourg American Cemetery, for the first time 3 years ago. General Patton is also in that same cemetery. Additionally, I had an older brother, Tom, who served in the Navy and died in 1979. It was a mid-air collision, excuse me, while flying a dogfighting mission with the Top Gun school out of Miramar. As Chris indicated, I entered the service in 1976 after graduating Northwestern. Less than perfect eyesight relegated me to be a naval flight officer, the next best thing to being a pilot. And I was in the A-6 Intruder, a 2-seat carrier-based attack jet. At the time, my intention was just to serve my 5 years of service and then leave the Navy. But it was not until I started making overseas deployments that I realized how valuable and unique our freedom and way of life is. I discovered our rights and freedoms do not have a global guarantee. I realized serving my country had its sacrifices, but it was worth it to continue serving, so I stayed in past my 5 years. George Will, the journalist, said many years ago, talking about young men and women landing aircraft on the pitching decks of aircraft carriers. He said they were living on the edge of danger so that the rest of us need not think about, let alone experience danger. And if you will indulge me in one sea story, I'm going to try and illustrate some of George Will's words. I know it's hard for you to imagine, but I'm going to try and describe what it's like to be launched in the middle of the night off the catapult on the deck of an aircraft carrier. When you're in the middle of the ocean at night, it is varsity dark. There's no horizon, no city lights. You're just looking out at black. You're sitting in the cockpit of your jet, and you know the bow of the ship is about 200 feet in front of you. You just can't see it. And beneath that bow, 60 feet below that, is the ocean. And the only light you're really aware of, besides the glow of your instruments, is a wand down on the flight deck. That's held by one of the flight deck crew who signals you to go to full power. Your jet powers up, but it's held back by a fitting designed to break when the catapult fires. So if all your instruments are looking good, the controls feel good, way you signal the catapult officer you're ready to go is you turn on the exterior lights of the aircraft. So those lights come on, the catapult officer acknowledges that. He makes one last check, make sure everything on the deck is okay, and then he signals a sailor off in the catwalk to press the button that fires the catapult. By the time your lights come on and that button is pressed, it's about 3 to 5 seconds. And those 3 to 5 seconds while you're sitting at full power waiting for the catapult to launch is a temporal distortion. You're waiting to be walloped from behind and flung off that ship's bow into the night. When the catapult fires for the next 2.5 seconds, you're in the hands of God. There's nothing you can do now. You're pressed against your ejection seat. The blackness rushes by, and 2.5 seconds later, you're airborne. The force is released from your body, and you're just grateful to be flying and grateful that the Bernoulli principle still works at night. But I also want to point out, for all that to happen, the young men and women working on the flight deck, those responsible for getting you safely airborne off the pointed end of the ship, are most likely high school graduates getting paid on par of a fast food worker. These flight deck personnel work in one of the most dangerous environments around. They're dodging the intakes and exhausts of jet aircraft on 12-hour shifts, all on 4.5 acres of sovereign U.S. military territory. That was my sea story, but the Navy kept things interesting for me, and I retired in 1994. During my flying tours, I had over 2,000 hours in the A6 and over 400 carrier landings. I was proud to have served and grateful for what this country provides. I was a fortunate son. My personal sacrifices while serving were not as ultimate as my Uncle Francis or my brother Tom, and my sacrifices were not as arduous as Vietnam vets or prisoner of wars, but I was still proud to serve. And that's today's paradox, convincing the next generation that their service is needed to deter the dangers that they do not perceive, dangers that may threaten our freedoms. I know veterans are acknowledged a lot on today, and appropriately so, but I would also like to acknowledge their spouses and family members that supported the veterans. Their mostly silent and Herculean efforts need to be acknowledged as well. And in closing, I'll leave you with one of my favorite President Reagan quotes. Freedom is never more than one generation away from extinction. We didn't pass it to our children in the bloodstream, and it must be fought for, protected, and handed on, and handed on for them to do the same. Thank you for being here today.
Thank you, Lieutenant Dan. Our next returning performer is the multi-talented Yolanda Tolentino, who will be performing God Bless the USA. Yolanda is a professional singer and actress who performed the role of Lady Ting in The King and I on Broadway, which starred Lou Diamond. In her spare time, she enjoys teaching musical performances to children and singing at the senior centers and rest homes. Let's give Yolanda a warm and spirited welcome.
Thank you. I'm always glad to be back. So thank you, honey, and thank you who made this possible. It's an honor to be on the same stage with all of you. I feel like I was born a patriot because I was born in a naval base in Agana, Guam. My father was in the Navy. I had uncles in the Navy. I had brothers in the Air Force and Navy, and a nephew in the Marines. So I lived on the naval base where they had those Gomer pile houses. They call it Quonset huts. Is that what they? That was fun. Anyway, So I'm going to sing the song that I sing here every year. It's God Bless the USA. And I usually use the ukulele, but I really want to sing it a cappella because I think we really have to think about the words. Just like you said, peace and freedom have to be fought for. And the generation that doesn't know, that didn't fight for, they don't understand that. But I do. I've been surrounded by the military for many years. So I'm going to start, and in the end, if you could all join the chorus. If tomorrow all the things were gone you've worked for all your life, and you had to start again with just your children and your wife, just thank your lucky stars to be living here today, 'cause the flag still stands for freedom, and they can't take that away. And I'm proud to be an American, where at least I know I'm free. And I won't forget the ones who died and gave that right to me. And I gladly stand up next to you and defend her still today. 'Cause there ain't no doubt I love this land. God bless the USA. From the lakes of Minnesota to the hills of Tennessee, across the plains of Texas, from sea to shining sea, from Detroit down to Houston and New York to LA. Well, there's pride in every American heart, and it's time we stand and say that I'm proud to be an American, where at least I know I'm free. And I won't forget the ones who died and gave that right to me. And I gladly stand up next to you and defend her still today. 'Cause there ain't no doubt I love this land. God bless the USA. And I'm proud to be an American, where at least I know I'm free. And I won't forget the ones who died and gave that right to me. And I gladly stand up next to you and defend her still today. 'Cause there ain't no doubt I love this land. God bless the USA.
What a remarkable performance. Well, now I'd like to, wow, so good. I love the ukulele, but I love that a cappella as well. I'd like to now thank, and at this time give a special acknowledgement and recognition to our hosts and sponsors of this event today, which we're profoundly grateful for. Many thanks to our gracious hosts, the Malibu Navy League, Pepperdine University, the City of Malibu, and the Malibu Association of Realtors. Additionally, many thanks to our generous sponsors, International Protective Services, IPS, and the Malibu Times. And now our next speaker is no stranger to us, Commander Dan Stark. He and his family have served on the Veterans Day Committee for many years. Commander Dan Stark of the U.S. Air Force, after graduating from Occidental College in Los Angeles, California, was selected for Officer Candidate School at Newport, Rhode Island. He was sent to Aviation Ordnance Officers Training at Naval Air Station Jacksonville, Florida, and then assigned as the weapons officer for Carrier Wing 11 at Naval Air Station in Miramar, California. After active service, he remained in the Naval Air Reserve for a total of 23 years, retiring from Naval Air Station Point Magoo, just right here next to us here in Malibu, California. Let's welcome, please, Commander Dan Stark and his grandson, Lucas Mason, who's lieutenant in the Officer Corps at St. Catherine's Academy.
Sorry, guys. I'm the old blind sailor at this point in time, but I'm humbled to be here, but I'm grateful they've included me in all branches of the service. The Malibu Times said I was U.S. Army, and Chris just introduced me as Air Force. Problem is that all the people in both of those services are disappointed because they tried to get in the Navy and they couldn't make it. You have heard from Lieutenant Commander Dan, and now you're going to hear from Commander Dan. I joined the Navy near the end of the Korean conflict for two reasons. Number one, I needed a job, and number two, I wanted to be in the military service, and I probably would have been drafted anyway. So I thought, well, join up. So I did. By the time I was 24 years of age, I was on my second 9-month combat cruise to the South Pacific. And my job as a weapons officer was on the flight deck. And as the lieutenant commander said, the flight deck is a dangerous place, and you grow up quick when you're a young man on the flight deck dodging whirling propellers and screaming jet engines. It makes a man out of you. Now, before I let my grandson Lucas say a few words, let me just say that I'm not the only one in my family who has served in the military. Lucas, you will see, attends St. Catherine's Academy, and although it's not an official military school, it is run by two take-no-prisoners Marines. So Lucas goes to one of the few remaining schools that teaches discipline and leadership, and so I'm very proud of him. Anyways, another guy that some of you will know is my another grandson, Paul. He was on our Veterans Day committee here for a couple of years. He's now a first-class petty officer assigned to the USS Nimitz, which is an aircraft carrier stationed at Bremerton, Washington. Then my oldest son was Coast Guard. My youngest son was a helicopter mechanic in the U.S. Army. And my cousin, God love him, Bud Miller, was a F-86 fighter pilot in Korea and was shot down, and he never returned from Korea. So we don't know whether he survived or not. And then my uncle was a submariner who was stationed in Perth, Australia during World War II. So we have lots of military attachments. In any case, I'd like at this time to have Lucas say a few words to you. And he's one of the guys that is really coming along just great. Lucas Mason.
Hello, everybody. My name is Lucas Mason. I am Dan Stark's grandson. Number one grandpa, in my opinion. And I go to St. Catherine's Academy, a Catholic school with a military tradition. They are located in Anaheim, and recently I have just been promoted to the officer corps, and I am what they consider the band major. I am in charge of the band and my cadets in the band, and I have responsibilities in the battalion and in the band. So I'm like a double officer almost. And then we also have the military, which is scary to some people, and me, honestly. They run the school. There are two Marines. One is called Corporal Detour, the other is Sergeant May. And I respect them a lot, and others do too. And they're teaching us map guiding skills now, which I think, in my opinion, is pretty awesome. And now they're also teaching us how to read compasses. And there are many more things that they're going to teach us, like an obstacle course. They're going to teach us how to do that. So, in my opinion, this year is going to be a really fun one. This is my last year at St. Catherine's Academy, too, since I am in 8th grade, their last year. And then I'll be off to high school. So, I'm going to make this year count.
Thank you, Commander Dan. Thank you, Lucas. You've got a great, great future ahead of you. Our next performer is Malibu's 5th Poet Laureate, Nathan Hassel. He draws an inspiration for his work from all aspects of life and says that the art of poetry does a service to the world by putting into words the beauty and tragedy in the human condition. Please join me in welcoming Nathan Hassel, who will be reciting the poem written by him, Coming Home, for the veterans here today. Let's give him a hand.
Hi, first of all, thank you. It's a true honor to be at this event, to listen to veterans and to see other performers. And I am very, very honored to be speaking here also. So I just want to say thank you. I wrote this poem over the last week when I was trying to, empathize with what it might be like to come home after being on tour. Now, this isn't something I understand, so I think of the poem as an invitation to dialogue, so that we can listen better and understand more of the veteran experience. Some of you might have picked up a copy of this poem. I've left some on the table outside, so if you'd like some at the end, you can pick some up. But I invite you to close your eyes as you listen, if you feel comfortable. This poem is called Coming Home. I would do anything to return to the fresh gardens of youth, ignorant again of the names of flowers, what they were before I first heard them cracking open. A marrow red poppy blooms through a fallen man's mouth. Its petals, coarse as the white cross that perches above his laying. Above, clouds hold in their swell the liquid sparks of restoration. Is it we who have concealed the blazing gift that is our sun, sweet, violent sun, its bows of fire spreading letters into our hearts that say, Sir, Madam, maybe tomorrow you will wake up somewhere better. A soldier returns home after a tour, his dog leaping up his body, sloppily tonguing his shaven face. Oh, my gorgeous daughter, he says. Oh, my wonderful son. Ah, my love, my love. What he couldn't say, I was different out there. Even though they all knew this to be true, they didn't ask. They squeezed him tighter. Behind the warm bodies, the sun cones through the living room window and glints off the dog tag dripping from his neck. He closes his eyes and inhales. Clouds blossom. Once again, they release their wet blessing to the earth. Thank you, everyone.
Powerful words. Thank you, Nathan. And now our next speaker is Aaron T. Jones, President and CEO of International Protective Services, IPS, as we all know them here in Malibu. Provides close protection for people from all walks of life, as well as dignitaries, celebrities, Fortune 500 company executives, and their families. Having been in the industry for the past 31 years, he's had the honor of serving several political and public figures. He also employs, which is part of the company's ethos, a number of veterans through IPS as well. Aaron, again, your sponsorship is highly appreciated. Aaron will also be introducing our following speaker, Colonel Jack F. Jones II. Please give Aaron a warm welcome to the stage.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It is an absolute honor to be here today. I hope I've cried all my tears out so I don't have to cry up here on the stage, but I've never been so overwhelmed and humbled in my life. Although I'm not a veteran, I absolutely love the men and women that have served our country, and I did my best to honor them as working as a police officer for many years. So it's It's a little odd for me speaking at an event like this right now because most of the events I speak at lately, I have been so angry at and given them both barrels about the way things are going in this world because I'm not happy about it, and I hope you're not either. You know, our forefathers did amazing things for this country, and I'm sure they're rolling in their graves right now as we watch the things that are going on in this world. Things have got to change, ladies and gentlemen. We've got to do things differently. These men up here and the women that have served for this country are absolutely amazing. I come from a family of veterans. My dad was a military policeman in the Army. My Uncle Chris, who's absolutely one of my favorite people of all times, he stowed away to the Navy when he was 15 years old. Of course, you get court-martialed for that today, but he joined the Navy, and he served not only in the Second World War, but in Korea and in Vietnam. And you talk about when my Uncle Chris was alive, he just passed away a few years ago. When we would go places with my Uncle Chris, I've never seen anything like it. When you see a 3-war veteran show up at a place especially something like this. You can't imagine the honor that is bestowed upon them. So it is my great honor to be here, to be a sponsor for this. I can't do enough for this country. I wish I would have served in the military. I wish I would have been part of the greatest generation. But you know what, today is the day that we have got to rise up, because if you don't think things are serious, turn on the news. You know, the devil is at the door, and we have got to do everything we can to fight and to rally our fellow Americans to protect this country and to protect the other countries that we support. We are the greatest country in the world. I have the distinct privilege of having a gentleman that works with us. He's a retired Army colonel. He's dedicated his life not only to military service, but he was also a police officer executive and also was head of the Department of Public Safety for at least 3 years. He's done some amazing things. He's been around the world. He's commanded some amazing men and women. Ladies and gentlemen, Colonel Jack Jones.
Wow, what an honor it is to be here. I can't tell you how proud I am. First time in Malibu. There, what a beautiful city. You know, I look around and I say, this was a great event. I've been to many of them, and this was a great event. Some of the singers, the poem that we listened to, Miss Smith. What an honor, man. Thank you very much. And Blue Moon, Mayor, I don't want to rate Blue Moon with you, but you know what? What a pony that guy is, right? He's right there. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I can't tell you how proud I am to be here. The United States Naval Sea Cadets of Langley Division, you did a marvelous job. LA County Fire, man, what an honor it is to see you guys back there. Thank you for showing up. I'd like to start today by thanking those among us who, despite the risk and sacrifices, raised their hand to serve and defend the beautiful country of ours. Active duty service members, guardsmen, reservists, and a special tribute to the Gold Star mothers and Gold Star wives. I tell you, they have a place in my heart. I lost my brother in Vietnam in 1967, and it was the Gold Star mothers that came to the rescue of my mom that took care of her and took her underneath her wing to do things. Let's also talk about a moment about and acknowledge the families of service members and veterans who helped win the war and the burdens of the sacrifice. To their mothers, fathers, spouses, and children, our military men and women, thank you. Your love, support, and resilience are the backbone of this nation. We can't tell the spouses and the families how much we appreciate them. On January 31st, 1967, all the fears of any mother with children in service of the United States of America came true to my mother when an Air Force chaplain and an Army officer arrived in Albuquerque, New Mexico to notify my parents that their son had been killed in action in the Republic of Vietnam. She lived that moment for the rest of her life. Many Gold Star mothers and wives became her friend. The families gave her the support they needed, and many of these families are still my friends today. On July 4th, 2026, a little over 2 years from now the United States of America will be 250 years old. The United States military has been there from the beginning. From all the militaries in the world, ours is unique. Where's the United States Marine Corps? How about those Gyrenes, man? I'll tell you what, leathernecks and devil dogs. You guys have set the stage for what our history is and what our future is going to be, the first to fight. The Revolutionary War was the start of the spirit of what I call the veteran. General George Washington and the Continental Army brought American patriotism to the forefront. Imagine what they did. They crossed a river at night, a frozen river at night, on December 25th, Christmas Day, and went in and defeated part of the British Army. We do that all the time. When you look at what we do across America, that's us. They set the stage for the tenacity, the audacity, for the things that we have in naval aviation, for those Rangers that we have that storm the beaches of Normandy, for the infantrymen that we have that fought in Afghanistan and Iraq. Those are the things that we've had, and they set the standard for audacity and tenacity with General George Washington. After the war, the Constitution was created, and it begins with we the people. Was created, and there are no kings, no czars, and no dictators. Our veterans believe in democracy, and at that time, God and country. George Patton is buried with his soldiers in Luxembourg in a simple military grave. The Continental Army understood the new freedom worth fighting and dying for. As we all know, veterans understand we were the first to call to arms. American patriotism in the United States would not be what it is today. That spirit of the veteran has carried forward since 1775. I am humbled for me to be here today to speak to you. While I'm a United States Army veteran, combat veteran, I'm also the father of an Army veteran. I'm also the younger brother of a United States Army paratrooper that was killed in Vietnam. I am the father my father served in the Navy in World War II. I'm the grandson of a World War I veteran and the great-grandson of an Army veteran who served in the Spanish-American Civil War. Well, this is not... Thank you very much. While this is not unique to many families, I was fortunate to serve with a four-star general by the name of Montgomery C. Meigs. One, the meanest man I ever met, the smartest man I ever met, and one of the kindest souls that were ever. He was a fifth-generation West Pointer. So when we talk about family and tradition and having served around, it's impressive when we talk with people like this and been around them. Like many of the individuals, I did not know how to talk to the veterans that were in my life. I wish I had paid more attention to these veterans in my life and been able to help them through some of the things that they'd had. Every time I talk to them about their experience for fighting for our nation, many of them I would see the physical pride and yet the sadness in their eyes as they tried to explain to me that the military service they had changed them and how different they were. They all fought the battle of the mind and the heart. However, now I know all of us, veterans and civilians alike, have a role in supporting those who bear the burdens of war. There are no words I can say would sufficiently honor their service and sacrifice. My family signed up and performed their military service for God and the flag, country, and the defense of freedom. Today, there is only 1% of America that will become a soldier, sailor, airman, or Marine. These are the men and women who will leave their families to protect others, that carry the proud promise of a righteous defense against evil. Passed down from Valley Forge to Iwo Jima, to Incheon, to Hue, the mountains and plains of Afghanistan, and the deserts of Iraq. I learned from my great-grandfather, when called upon, the solemn tradition of service has stood unbroken now for 248 years. Not simply because of a shared uniform, this tradition is bonded by common faith that human dignity and democratic freedoms are worth fighting for. President Reagan each time our nation was called upon, our citizens stepped up to serve. The best have come forward. Words cannot express our gratitude and admiration, but we can and should take the opportunity on this Veterans Day to remember their gift to us. Veterans know better than anyone else the price of freedom. They've suffered the scars of war. We can offer them no better tribute than protect what they have won for us, and that is to keep it going. In 1775, Patrick Henry's speech to the Virginia Convention, he made this statement: "If life so dear and peace so sweet as to be purchased at the price of chains and slavery, if freedoms of America are not worth living and dying for and fighting for, it's been my experience in my travel around the world, in the places I've been, Afghanistan and Iraq, that I have seen the evil, then there is nothing worth living for if we can't have the freedoms we have in America." On Veterans Day, we take a pause to remember and honor the men and women that did raise their right hand, writing a blank check to the United States of America up to and including their lives through our history, where Americans have always reached for the stars and dreamed big when we had a vision. It was the veteran who, during the struggle in the pursuit of these dreams, whether it was our independence, ending slavery, winning 2 world wars, containing communism, fighting the global war on terrorism, or being prepared for the unknown, we owe our American way of life to the veterans who put their lives on hold and performed their duty. According to the VA, as of 2021, 7.3% of the American people became veterans when September 11th occurred. I watched that generation of Americans stand up and run towards the violence to bring the architects of September 11th to justice. The warriors who I had the honor of serving wanted the job of moving forward towards the sound of the gunfire. They came from all walks of life around the country: black and white, Hispanic, Asian, rich, poor, Christians, non-believers, Democrats, Republicans, and married, single. However, the funny thing is that none of that mattered. We were a team defending democracy, the free world, and we needed each other on that team. All of my family members that were veterans all told me that they may not have liked basic or boot camp and sometimes were homesick, but they were proud of their service to our nation. They missed the camaraderie, sharing the fears, the exhilaration, and accessible outcomes of their small part of war and becoming a veteran. I'm not sure if I will ever have another job that will mean as much to me as the time I've spent with service members who are now veterans across this globe. When your duty is complete and you leave the service or retire, the burden of military service for your families is over. Many are lucky they can drop the weight of anxiety and concern off their shoulders. Veterans have served our country proudly for nearly 250 years and will continue to serve. That's because, as President Reagan said, we are Americans. Remember, we live among giants. I will forever be grateful to such heroes that's up here on this stage and have lived and been part of my life. Thank you for taking this time on Veterans Day, November 11th, 2023, to honor our heroes. God bless all. God bless the veterans. God bless the United States of America. Climb to glory and to the top.
Wow. Jack Jones, ladies and gentlemen. Now, please help me welcome to the stage our returning choir from none other than our local Our Lady of Malibu School, directed by Austin Trujillo, as they join us to sing God Bless America.
I invite all you guys to sing along. If you have some lyrics, just help us out. We have some volunteer kids that came out here on a Saturday to respect all of our veterans, and we thank you guys for your service. I come from a family with a lot of Vietnam veterans, Afghanistan, my friends, and my grandfather, World War II, so much respect. All right. We'll go through it 2 times. Where's Edward? Where am I? Let's get our other every OLM kid. We got Wolfie. Come on, if you're part of OLM. So Nico. There we go. All right, you guys ready? One more kid. All right, here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. God bless America, land that I love. Stand beside her and guide her through the night with the light from above. From the mountains to the prairies to the oceans white with foam. God bless America, my home, sweet home. God bless America, my home, sweet home. One more time, a little louder, here we go. God bless America, land that I love. Stand beside her and guide her through the night with the light from above. From the mountain to the prairies, to the oceans, white with foam. Thank you for your service, veteran.
Great job, choir. And thank you, Austin. We just have a bunch of legends up here on stage, don't we? Heroes. That's right, Ani. Heroes and legends. And our next speaker is none other than First Lieutenant Don McClay of the United States Navy. He's a Malibu local, as many of you know, having resided here since 1965. The good old days, right, Don? He served in the United States Navy on active duty from 1956 until 1959, and retired from the Naval Reserve as lieutenant in 1965. He's also been active in public service for the city of Malibu, having been a founding board member of the Point Dume Community Services District. Currently, he is the treasurer of the Malibu Navy League, serving with John Payne, and also serves on the city's Public Works Commission and the Veterans Committee. Welcome, First Lieutenant Don McClay.
Thank you very much, Chris. I'm not only humbled to be here, but in awe, and I can't express anything other adjective of what these guys have been saying. I am no hero, and have not been involved in any of the action that these guys have been talking about. It's incredible. I served on active duty in the Navy back in the 50s, starting out in flight training in Pensacola. Dropped out for personal reasons and wound up on a destroyer. About the only action we saw was when we landed Marines at Lebanon in 1958. The Marines had to step over all these girls in bikini on the beach because nobody seemed to care very much about that event. Nobody cares about it today. Nobody even knows about it very much today. My dad was a veteran in both World Wars. He was on active duty in the Army in World War I in 1917. With a battlefield promotion from sergeant, became a second lieutenant. The night he left the front to go to his pup tent, to leave to go take the 6-week training course to become a lieutenant, an artillery shell hit the tent that he had been in and killed his tent mate. So he was fortunate to get through the war, and of course I'm fortunate as a byproduct of all that. And 25 years later, in World War II, he volunteered for the Coast Guard, patrolled the harbor facilities for the port of Philadelphia after work for several nights a week. Again, it was a very emotional time period in World War II, unlike probably any war that we've seen since, or maybe before. Currently, we've talked about the legacy, our fathers, our parents. The more important legacy probably is what our children end up doing, the next generation. And as part of the Malibu Navy League, I've been happy to help out a little bit with that. And I think the Navy League is proud, I know John is proud, of the fact that we've helped to support both NROTC units at both at USC and UCLA. We don't support them much, but we do help them. And the Langley Division of Sea Cadets is under our sponsorship, and we're very proud of those guys. There are 21 of them here today. I don't know if you noticed or not. They were standing in the back there. I think they all decided to take part. Every Christmas season, we manage the promotion and physical collection of toys for the U.S. Marine Corps program called Toys for Tots. We're having an event on Pearl Harbor Day this year, and that's another thing that we contribute to the community and to the situation of this world. In closing, I'm very proud to have served in the military. I was fortunate to skip through. I was too young for World War II. I was 8 years old when Pearl Harbor happened. I was in college when Korea went on, had a deferment because I was Naval ROTC. So I missed Korea. And then I was too old for Vietnam, so I missed all the action. I guess I'm lucky, but on the other hand, and listening to what these men have contributed, I'm sorry I wasn't more of a part of it than I was. But I'm very proud of it in any event, and I also want to thank Ani and your group of people for doing this the way they've done it for 24 years now. This is incredible. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Don. 24 years, and this is the best year, right, Ani? And counting. Well, it's with great pleasure and truly profound gratitude, we'd like to also acknowledge the support of the following who are mentioned in your programs in front of you. And we'll go down the list here. If you could save the applause till the end of the names. Aaron T. Jones, Ararat Group USA for the natural sparkling water. Dylan Margulis for the music. Douglas Ellerman, Fire Department Stations 70, 71, and 88. Ian Michael May, Special Assistant Field Deputy to Jeff Crane, LA County Office of the Assessor. LA County Fire Department Stations at 70, 71, and 88, as we said. LA Sheriff's Department Captain Jennifer Situ, LA Swing Dance Posse, and Arthur White. McDonald's of Malibu here. MemorableGifts.com, Rafi Dermengian. Nicholas and Haley Matson, Our Lady of Malibu School Principal Rich Nambu. Pavilions Market here in Malibu. Pepperdine University, the PAC students Alina Sanchez, Parker Janney, Cassidy Honeymar, and London Johnson. Ralph's Market here in Malibu. The City of Malibu. Victoria Netanel of Mini Therapy Horses, and if you haven't seen the Mini Therapy Horse back there, she loves human contact, so please go say hi to our little beautiful mini pony. Wings Over Wendy's, established in 2002, and Whole Foods of Malibu. Please join me in giving these individuals and organizations a gracious round of applause. And now we'd like to give a very warm welcome to a local sixth grader here in Malibu, Skylar Graham, who is student body secretary of Our Lady of Malibu. She will be reading a poem as a tribute to our veterans. Please give Skylar a warm welcome. Come on up, Skylar.
I thank you with all my heart, veterans. To those who serve now or who have served in the past, I thank you with all my heart for your service. Thank you for my life and freedom in this unique and wonderful nation. Freedom is not an abstract idea. It's the difference between the life I choose and the life others choose for me. I am free to think, feel, and speak the way I wish. Free to speak my opinion and stand for my beliefs. You have given me that freedom, as you have sacrificed your life to do so wholeheartedly, without complaint and without reservation. You gave, even when giving cost you a great deal. I thank you for your sacrifice, your care, and dedication to make my life better. I am proud of all the soldiers who kept red, white, and blue, that fought for us in all our rights. Today, we honor and celebrate you with pride. I thank you with all my heart, veterans, for without you, our freedom in the United States of America would not exist.
Great job, Skylar. Okay, we are coming along here now. We're very honored to have the opportunity of having Ashley Cusado as our next speaker, who's making her directional debut with the film Major Capers, The Legend of Team Broad-Minded, which highlights her proficiency both as a writer and as a producer, as she focuses on substantive, historically significant, real-life stories. She's also a well-known actress and skilled stunt woman. You don't see those a lot very often today. with 100 plus film, TV, and commercial appearances. Ashley will also be introducing our following speaker, First Lieutenant Dr. Bill Peters. Please join me in welcoming Ashley Casado to the stage.
Good afternoon, everyone. We're rolling into the afternoon. It's wonderful to be here. I want to express my gratitude and my thanks to the veterans that have served our country and the men and women who are currently serving our country. We are truly grateful. Many years ago, Marine Corps General had approached me and asked me to tell some, once classified pieces of history and to bring them to light, and it was an honor to be of service to do that. We recently released the documentary Major Capers, The Legend of Team Broadminded, which is a story about a true American hero, Major James Capers Jr., who volunteered for the Marine Corps in 1955 and persevered through adversity, participated in over 50 classified missions, had been wounded 19 times, and rose to become one of the highest decorated Force Recon Marines in history. And it was through his perseverance and faith and his teams to overcome what appears to be insurmountable challenges during the Vietnam War. And so it was an honor to be able to tell those stories. Major Capers is currently in North Carolina and couldn't be here with us today, but we show our gratitude. I'd also like to introduce Dr. Bill Peters, who is also in the film, a Force Recon, highly decorated Force Recon Marine as well, and a man who is committed to his ministry. So Dr. Bill Peters, we'd love to have you come up. Thank you.
I've never felt safer in a crowd of people, other than maybe a company of Force Recon Marines as I feel today, and I mean that from the bottom of my heart. Please give yourselves a hand. I've expected to turn around and see Princess Leia and Luke Skywalker coming up. It's been that kind of a day. In the shadows of Pepperdine College, Malibu, everybody that's filling this room, you're needed so badly in this hour. And you're responding by being here because we're being energized in our spirits as we hear the history and we hear it coming through people that totally believe in this country and their own beliefs. I grew up in the Bay Area, Livermore Valley, and I enjoyed the pleasures of the 1950s and 60s growing up. I loved this nation. I remember asking my dad around 1960, 61 if there had ever been better times than I was experiencing. You know, he looked at me and he said, no, this is the best it's ever been. I remember coming down the driveway on my bicycle when I was about 10 years old, and I just believe an angel was on my shoulder and said, look at what you have here. And I remember it was a warm summer day, and the thought was, you really don't want to lose this. So in 1967, I attended Officers Candidate School in Quantico, Virginia, prepping up for Vietnam. We were losing 400, 600 a week in Vietnam. In those days, I was playing football at San Francisco State, living in San Francisco, and I remember seeing the headlines, and there were 8 inches high, 600 died in Vietnam this week. And I had time to think about Vietnam and my generation on the campus at San Francisco State really wasn't buying into it. And people like myself, they really wanted to silence, because America to me was just such an incredible, incredible life. So I found myself in the United States Marine Corps. June of 1968, I received my commission, and off to Quantico, Virginia Officers Basic School for 6 months, and into Vietnam. First patrol with retired Major General now, he was a lieutenant with me, Wayne Rollins, surrounded by 300 North Vietnamese, our 8-man team, for 3 hours. The next day they went out and there were 26 dead enemy around our position. And that was welcome to Vietnam. But one of the things I always like to do when I have an opportunity is talk about these special ops guys that you really never hear their name or know much about them. I've written a book that covers over 20 of these very, very brave young men. I led teenagers into a place called the Quai San Mountains the summer of 1969. The valor of these teenagers. I'm thinking of Dennis Murphy right now. Dennis Murphy on a high-value patrol 44 miles southeast of Da Nang, deepest force recon ever penetrated into enemy controlled territory. I was one of the 4 team leaders. 4 teams put in early in the morning of June 17th, 1969. And within a day, all 4 teams were in contact. And Dennis Murphy was a teenager. He was with a team led by a fellow by the name of Theodore Ott. He had to be at least 20. And I heard the whole thing, monitoring it in the field. I was told to stop my team right where I was on a ridge line and go no further. Second team was in contact. And that was, once again, Major General Wayne Rollins, Lieutenant Rollins. I sat and I listened as they were giving the orders in the picture of what was going on the ground. I was on the same radio freak as the team that was Sergeant Ott's and Dennis Murphy's. The whole team got shot. Every one of them were wounded. Theodore Ott had 3 rounds in his stomach. Don't ask me how he could live to get that team out. Dennis Murphy stayed behind because the others were shot and laid down fire, which drew fire on him from 3 different positions, and he was killed. We knew in the field who that was because it was customary to use their initials, would have been DM, and the last few digits of their service number. My platoon sergeant, Eugene Ayers, from the state of Washington, March 19th, 1969, 5 weeks after I turned the team over to him and rotated out. Eugene Ayers was killed because he took point away from another teenager, Pete Halsey, put him behind him, and walked into what he pretty much knew was going to be an ambush, but he had to move the team along. They were being flanked and they were being pressed from the rear. And I remember when I got the letter, we lost Sergeant Ayers sitting at 29 Palms, OIC, the NCO Leadership School. I sat there for a minute and I thought that couldn't be possible, but it was. And fast forward to this generation, I'm on the board with the Mighty Oaks Foundation, Chad Robichaud. Chad's a former Force Recon Marine, War on Terror. You may have heard his name. Chad, incredible Force Recon Marine, an incredible heart. And I had the opportunity to attend Chad's retreat for the military. Wayne Hughes, who owns Public Storage, had built out a wonderful retreat center in San Miguel, right near San Luis Obispo. And I attended that. It was all war on terror vets. There were no Vietnam vets there. And as they went around the room, asking and introducing themselves, I've been in ministry for 53 years. I thought, man, I don't want these guys to be editing what they're saying around me. I'm one of them. And when it finally got to me, I could stand up and say that how pleased I was to be here with you guys. And I got to the rooms that Wayne Hughes had prepared for us, 5-star. There were 40 of us veterans. And I thought, somebody's already got the lower bunk. Because going up that ladder and down that ladder in the middle of the night, some of you senior citizens know what I'm talking about. And I was really thinking about that ladder, and when the lights go out, and the young guy, former Green Berets, all of us were special ops guys. But then, man, I don't want to fall on my face and have them kicking me up in the middle of the night. And then in comes PJ. PJ takes off both of his legs, and he has that bunk beneath me. That was his equipment that was sitting on the bunk. So it was pretty difficult to feel sorry for myself. I had my book to hand out about day 4. I felt like, man, they're editing things. They're afraid I'm going to break. And I started passing books out to some of them that were sharing the same room. Navy SEALs and the like were there. What I want to share with you today, that there always needs to be a story when you're sharing like this, and there always needs to be a point to that story. And the story always needs a point. What I saw in 23 missions, 20 of which I led, was border warfare along the Laotian, Cambodian borders. I was up against those borders many times, probably inside of Laos. And what we began to see in the summer of 1969, 1st Force Recon, stationed at a place called Anhua, which was in the Anhua Basin, and the Khe Sanh Mountains were just up above. And the Khe Sanh Mountains loomed over Da Nang. And I was on a permanent OP with my team. It was early May of '69, not quite summer. We're looking across a place called Antenna Valley, and looming up behind the valley were the Khe Sanh Mountains. And we were safe up there. But suddenly, on day 2, PFC Bobby Wicks, 5 foot tall, 17 years old, on an M1 spotter scope looking across Antenna Valley. There was a high-speed trail there along the base, the foothills of those mountains. And the North Vietnamese army began to move on that trail. For 10 days, I fired artillery, ran airstrikes, and they kept coming. First, maybe there was 10 meters between them. Pretty soon there was 40 meters between them. They kept coming for 10 days. And they turn off of that trail and go into those Quezon Mountains that were just looming up there. The company I was with, First Force Recon, was moving at that time, so my commanding officer, Major Roger Simmons, #1 in his British Commando School, guy was a real stud, hadn't been able to debrief, and he hadn't watched too close to the reports. They were pulling everything up, moving us into more of a CIA compound near Da Nang where we'd be safer. We were in trenches, and just being rocketed, not good for special ops, so you don't get any rest. But Major Simmons pulls me in and he says, can these reports be real? I said, yes, sir. I said, man, they are moving up in the foothills of those Quezon Mountains, man. I know they're in there. I'd like to go in and take a look. That's what you do when you're 24 years old and a second lieutenant. You volunteer. You learn later not to do that. The summer 1969 for First Force Recon was absolutely incredible. Little Bobby Wicks, who I just mentioned, the 5-foot-tall, 17-year-old Marine, I asked him on his interview, I said, did you play some football? Yes, sir, with that southern drawl. And I said, when was that? I hadn't looked at his age yet. Last year. I can do the math. You're a teenager. How old are you? That summer, we flipped teams in and out of the Quezon Mountains. And on one of the patrols, one of the early patrols, I was teaching Bobby Wicks how to run point. So I had him in a deuce point, standing behind me. And all of a sudden, the movements on a high-speed trail, as soon as we stepped out of the jungle to the edge of the trail, a trail monitor from the NVA, North Vietnamese Army, walked in front of Bobby Wicks and I. And then he's directing traffic. And a movement started from here to Road 2 with the trail monitor with his back to me. I'm stuck in the open. Bobby Wicks's M16 barrel sticking out under my elbow, and I'm going, do not pull the trigger. And they kept coming. I got to 60. I thought one of them made eye contact with me, had a bunch of communications wire around him. Pretty soon, a cadre of North Vietnamese officers with women with them walked on that trail and rode. And we knew that we were into something very, very big the summer of 1969 in the Quezon Mountains. I had enough courage to go like this, just wave that M16 out from under my elbow, and I saw it disappear. And I kept counting. It got up to 120. I finally took this first step back into the jungle. Every story needs a point. Every point needs a story. I'm headed someplace. I backed off the trail and kept backing up, keeping my eyes. A little bit of a hill, and finally their shadows ceased. And I still was resonant to turn around. And when I did, there that team was, made up of mostly kids in their teens, very early 20s. And they all had their weapons pointed to cover me. They hadn't moved away from that position. They had waited for the lieutenant to come over. My point is, I am an expert in border warfare. And it's insanity what these politicians have done opening our borders. You can get excited. thank these men, these giants, in heart and spirit for warming things up so I could get this out. It's not a red party or a blue party issue. It's a national security issue. If you love this nation, you will vote and get everybody out to vote for those that are endorsing the security of our southern and northern borders. Just want to say, God bless each one of you. And I just have one more thing to ask. I really want to pet the pony before I leave. God bless you.
Dr. Peters, thank you very much. Excellent remarks. Fitting way to transition to our next guest. With great pleasure, we would like to ask to join us on the stage a mother and son singer duo, Gina and Leo Longo, who will be performing Amazing Grace. Let's give them a warm welcome.
Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now I'm found. Was blind, but now I see. 'Twas grace that taught my heart to fear, and grace my fears relieved. How precious did that grace appear the hour I first believed. Through many dangers, toils, and snares, I have already come. This grace that brought us here thus far, and grace will lead me home. When we've been here 10,000 years, bright shining as the sun, we've no less days to sing God's praise than when we first begun. Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now I'm found. Was blind, but now I see. Was blind, but now I see.
Great job, Gina and Leo. I'd like to now ask you to please help me welcome to the stage our next speaker, Lieutenant Colonel Ed Reynolds of the U.S. Air Force, who served for 22 years. He's totaled up 5,000 flying hours, 640 combat hours in 147 combat missions. And today, he currently leads the weekly meetings for Wings Over Wendy's, where over 300 veterans meet on a weekly basis. Ed will also be introducing our following speaker, First Lieutenant Dr. Bob Eisenhart. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Lieutenant Colonel Ed Reynolds.
Yeah, thank you. It's really an honor. It's emotional to be here today. That last song was my Marine Corps brother's favorite hymn, and it sort of touched my heart to think about that. I'm here to call out the audience, the Wings Over Wendy's people. We have 101-year-old Ethel Margolin here on the front row. She never misses a meeting. She sits right there in front of me and keeps me honest. And it's a pleasure. You've seen her in the past when she and I have been up here in the previous years. And thanks to the Malibu Babes for having invited us every year to attend this function. Arnie, it's a pleasure. And throughout the audience, we have a few other Wings Over Wendy's people here today. I'd also like Dan Stark up here, a long-time member of Wings Over Wendy's, and Don's a new member, and then we need to talk about the legacy, and Bob Eisenhart, who runs our programs. If you haven't attended one of our meetings, you're really missing some great programs that Bob Eisenhart selects for us every week. And he has a good military lineage that they'll talk about. And so, Bob.
Good afternoon. My name is Bob Eisenhart. I'm really honored to be here amongst these other guests. We have somewhat of a different type of talk that I have lined up, but just because of what has been said, I will give just a snippet of my own military background. I did start as a first lieutenant through ROTC, second lieutenant in ROTC in 1960. And I happened to be, and I'll have to say that it's certainly lucky that during the 5 years that I was in Washington, D.C., and also in Germany at the headquarters, that we were not in a shooting war. So I appreciate that. But because I had very limited things to talk about, I've decided today to talk about my father's legacy in line with the legacy of generations in service. We have the, see if we can. My father, Colonel Donald Eisenhart. I will be using a few pictures to highlight parts of his military career. I would say his military legacy starts with his family. During World War II, of the 9 brothers, 7 of them served in the military. You'd think the little guy in the picture is the father of the others. And then my Uncle Russ in the middle is the only one still alive at 99. Now back in time, he started flight training in 1933 while doing some fun aerobatics in a P-12 trainer. He survived a flat spin by parachuting to safety, his only exciting time after 1,000 hours over his career. Moving on, as an instructor, he had multiple tours for flight training at bases all along the West Coast, bringing us up to April 1941. The AT-6 was the trainer they were using. It's a 2-pilot plane, and who do you think showed up for training? I figured some of you would know him. He turned up in my dad's responsibility area, and this is a picture that my dad took with an 8mm camera, with my dad taking a selfie in the front seat. Now enough of the fun stuff. A few months later in December, World War II starts. And then he's assigned, my father is assigned commander of the B-17 Crew Training Base School in Oklahoma. He spends through 1943 there training the B-17 crews. And then in 1944, he's assigned commander of a 9th B-29 bombardment group, 313th Bomb Wing, preparing for action in the Pacific. The group was headed to the island of Tinian, shown here, where we're looking at North Field. This is the largest airport in the world with 4 1.6 mile long runways, long enough as necessary for the B-29s to reach takeoff speed, fully loaded with bombs and fuel for a 3,000-mile round trip to Japan. The 9th Bomb Group had 48 planes of the B-29s, in which my dad flew 7 missions. Here's the 313th Bomb Wing in a meeting. A good, fortunate photo, has all the appropriate commanders in there, with Commander General Davies and my father, who had now been promoted up to Chief of Staff for Davies. You might also note in there, if you can read it, other people that showed up: Colonel Paul Tibbets and my uncle Charlie Eisenhart, one of his brothers. As you can imagine, all of these guys' participation was a key part in ending the war. Thankfully, the war ended soon after, and my dad attended the Air War College, the Industrial College, and served tours with both tactical and strategic air commands. Next, he had an assignment to France as the chief Air Force Section Military Advisory Group at the embassy in Paris. There for 3 years, and that, of course, is represented by the Eiffel Tower. I didn't have any other pictures of this. 1958, he returned to Texas and served under the Air Training Command until his retirement in 1966. Here we see a T-33, which is the jet upgrade to the earlier AT-6 that was used in all the training commands to train the jet fighters. He has been awarded many honors for 33 years of service, and he was my hero. Passed away in 2003, the age of 92. Thank you for listening.
Just powerful words from these heroes, these legends up here. And I know we're running a little bit over our schedule, but wouldn't you agree? These incredible stories, just give them another round of applause. Worth every single minute. Worth every single minute. It's all about them. That's right. Today is all about them. And our next performer, to honor them, and to bring a smile to our face, as she always does, is the highly sought after Kathy B., a TV producer, host, musical playwright, an award-winning singer, as you'll see in just a moment. Songwriter, Broadway singer, Kathy is back by popular demand, as she has participated in this event every single year since inception, and she will be singing I Am an American. Let's give her a lively welcome. Kathy B.
First, I want to thank everybody up here for all of your service. My dad and my brother were both in the service. I know we're running over time, but I just want to say this really briefly. My brother was in Vietnam. He was injured in Vietnam. He came back a different person with the wounds, physical and the spirit. And we lost him in 1975 in a car accident. Now, he was our only brother, 1 boy and 6 girls, and crushed my mom and dad. So that pain we all know when you lose somebody. My job's a singer, songwriter, I'm gonna bring it up, right? So I felt that pain again in 9/11. I felt that with all of us. And I said, you know, I gotta do something great, something to bring people up. So I wrote a song called I'm an American. I went in the studio, and it was on my birthday, my mom and dad, my dad was in the Army, they came from Ohio to be in the studio so that they could direct. Mom said, don't sing, Dad. And my daughter, who you heard last year, she's on the track. So when you hear this track, it's not just Kathy B. It's I'm doing this for all of you in memory of my brother and out of love, you guys. I love you all. I don't have to look one certain way. I'm free to live, to love and pray. I can work my own plan. I am an American, doctor, teacher, soldier, proud. We all live under one same cloud. Man, woman, child, too, under the red, the white, and blue. I'm an American. I'm an American, and I'm proud of who I am. And when I wake up every day, I'm so happy I can say I'm an American, home of the brave, land of the free. No other place I'd rather be, where freedom rings out every day. God bless the USA. I'm an American. I'm an American. This is my country, my homeland. And when I wake up every day, I'm so happy I can say I'm an American. I'm an American.
Kathy B. And now for the benediction, we'd like to welcome Pastor Andy Baumsteak, the newly selected pastor at Malibu Pacific Church. He served as the solo or lead pastor in 3 congregations in his lifetime. Let's welcome Pastor Baumsteak to Malibu and on stage.
Thank you. On behalf of all the churches here at Malibu, it's my privilege just to close and thank all of you for your service. We are looking for a worship leader, so I think, Kathy, you're it. Yeah, wherever you are. Yeah, she has a job, so I'm glad I showed up. People follow courage, and it takes courage to serve. And so thank you for your service, and people follow courage. And when we step out in courage, people will follow. And so thank you for leading us in this way in our country. So let's bow our heads now as we pray. Almighty God, we thank you for these men and women who have led in courageous ways, and God have shown us what it means to step out into danger, into difficult situations. And I pray that they would continue to lead us in courageous ways so that we as a nation can also lead the world in a courage of doing what's right and what is just. God, today we honor each and every one of these veterans who are worthy of our gratefulness, and we're so glad and we're blessed to have them in our lives and in our country. We pray that you will bless them in their unselfish service and in their continual struggle to preserve our freedoms, our safety, and our country's heritage for every single one of us. God, we ask that you bless them abundantly in their hardships. We pray for healing of their mental, their emotional, their physical wounds, that you would come alongside them. God, we're grateful for their families who have sacrificed as well as they were off, doing amazing things so that they could protect our freedoms here. So God, we respect them, we're thankful for them, we honor them, and we're proud of them. We pray that you will watch over them in every special way, and we ask that you would bless them with peace and with happiness. And all God's people said, amen.
Thank you, Pastor. And next we're going to welcome Matthew Lee of Pepperdine University to the stage as he will be performing taps on the bugle. He is a freshman at Seaver College at Pepperdine University, double majoring in trumpet performance and sports administration. In high school, he performed in numerous orchestral programs as he continues to enjoy this passion as a music student at Pepperdine. He is very honored to play taps for the ceremony and to be a contributing member of the Pepperdine and Malibu community. Please give a warm welcome to Matthew Lee. Thank you, Matthew. And today is all about our veterans. And so committee members, if you'd please join me on stage to present the certificates and commendations for our veterans from our local representatives. We are pleased to announce that all of our speakers will be acknowledged with beautiful commendations by Senator Henry Stern's office, Assemblywoman Jackie Irwin's office, and Malibu City Council. Also joining us is Ian Michael May, Field Deputy for LA County Assessor Jeff Prane. Please join us on stage to present the commendations.
Good afternoon, City of Malibu. My name is Ian Michael May. I am the field deputy representing Malibu and the surrounding areas on behalf of Assessor Jeffrey Prang. I'm truly honored and humbled to be sharing the stage with these incredible heroes and legends. These guys truly know what it means to be an American, and myself, I'm truly blessed and probably wouldn't even exist today if it wasn't for their sacrifice. So I'm truly honored to be able to present these certificates on behalf of my office. So I'll go ahead. I know it's late in the day, but I'll go ahead and I'll present these certificates. First of all, these certificates are here to commend your exemplary commitment to protect, defend, and serve the citizens of Los Angeles County and our great nation. We congratulate you for your tremendous service, and may your future endeavors be filled with continued success and prosperity. So I'll go ahead and I'll introduce one by one. First, we want to recognize Dan Rippinger from the United States Navy. Thank you so much for your service, and we really appreciate you. Next, I'd like to go ahead and recognize Commander Dan Stark of the United States Navy. Thank you so much. Next, we have Colonel Jack Jones. Thank you so much for your service in the United States Army. Next, we also have Don McClay from the United States Navy. Thank you so much for your service, good sir. Then we have Dr. Bill Peters of the United States Marine Corps. And last but not least, want to commend Dr. Bob Eisenhart for his service in the United States Army. We also have one certificate for someone who's not on the stage, someone who does a very important role of telling the story of these veterans. Because if their story is not told, then how can people my generation understand what it truly means to be an American? So I'd like to commend Ashley Cusado for her work in telling the story of Major James Capers. So thank you so much. I'll see you. And we also have a certificate for Major James Capers Jr. himself. Is he here today? Or? He's not here today. Yeah, North Carolina. He's so grateful. Yes, so we'll have that shipped to him as well. So we'll present this on his behalf. Thank you. And that's all of my accommodations today. But I do want to say that going up on the stage reminds me, our office is really, our office's job is to value this county, but today reminds me of how incomplete our calculations are. Our calculations don't account for the hard work, perseverance, and especially the sacrifice that the men and women of these counties, especially the service members, have put in to make this country truly as great as it is. So one final round of applause for these awesome heroes.
So I take it we're going to all get discounts on our tax assessments this year, is that right? Thanks so much. All the veterans, right? All the veterans will. All the veterans. 0% tax, right? 0% tax on those. Thank you very much. We can't truly value our veterans enough. There is so much that we are indebted to you for. We appreciate all that you've done. And I'd like to make a special acknowledgement. Actually, my younger brother's out here from Arizona, who came all the way out for this. My mother's out there in the back. So thank you so much. As a United States Navy veteran, thank you very much for your service. We have to keep that going with our next generation, right, fellas? And we also have with us this very special young lady who's celebrating her 101st birthday, Miss Ethel Margolis. In 2 weeks, and 2 months, 101 in 2 months. We also have a 97-year-old with us, who is John, is it John Shirk? There is it. Happy birthday, John. As well as Bob Sutton. Bob Sutton here with us, another World War II veteran. Thank you very much. And I'd like to have all of you join us for light lunch and refreshments following the ceremony today, and together we can thank all of our men and women who served in our armed forces as we celebrate Veterans Day today. As the Malibu Veterans Day Committee Chairwoman Ani Dermenjian said, honor a veteran every day, not just on Veterans Day. And cheers to that statement, and God bless all of our veterans. And God bless our brave men and women who served our country and continue to serve this great nation. Lastly, it's my absolute pleasure to thank each and every one of you who's joined us today to take the time out of your Saturday to be here with us and for allowing me to serve as your Master of Ceremonies for the second year in a row. It's been a true honor, and we look forward to seeing you back again next year on November 11th at 11 a.m. Many thanks to you all, and God bless America. In closing, I'd like to thank again the Malibu Navy League, Pepperdine University, the City of Malibu, and the Malibu Association of Realtors for being our gracious hosts today. We hope that you all agree. We hope that you all agree with our committee chair, Ani Dermenjian, that this has been the best year ever. Do we agree? Now, thank you, and join us for refreshments after this last act, America the Beautiful, as a sing-along, and a closing dance for a photo op. Our committee members are Ani Dermenjian, you can wave hello, Leah Johnson, John Payne, Margaret Hopman, Don McClay, Heidi Bernard, Dan Rippinger, KJ Margolis, Sophie Kidian, and Tommy Sardarian. Thank you all very much. Come on up and join us to sing America the Beautiful. Kristen London, yes, of course. Come on up, Kristen.
Second verse is on the back.
Man
is Chris London. She is a Texas native who burst into the music scene when she was part of a 3-member group signed to Atlantic Records. She's toured with many platinum recording artists and actually made it to the top 100 of NBC's The Voice. Thank you so much, Chris, for that beautiful rendition of America the Beautiful. Just a wonderful time we've had today. And let's give a cheerful welcome back for our final act to the stage, the LA Swing Dance Posse, and artistic director, choreographer Arthur White for performing our closing dance. And you are welcome to stand and proudly wave your American flags.
Hello. This is Malibu Veteran Day. Hello! What I'm talking about. Next year, when they say hello, the whole wall's gonna rap. So y'all got a whole year to prepare. Mr. Music, please.
Swinging all day,
Swinging on nothing,
swinging away,
swinging on nothing,
swinging that thing.
swinging on nothing.
No, no, but hey, swinging away, swinging that thing,
Swinging on nothing,
swinging away.
swinging on nothing.
No, no, now in your face,
Swinging on nothing,
swinging away,
swinging on nothing,
swinging that thing.
swinging on nothing.
No, no, swinging away,
Swinging on nothing,
swinging away,
swinging on nothing,
swinging away.
swinging on nothing.
Don't have to tell me, folks. I'll bet you that'll get it.
Swinging away,
Swinging on nothing,
swinging away,
swinging on nothing,
swinging away.
swinging on nothing.
No, no, now in your face,
Swinging on nothing,
swinging away,
swinging on nothing,
swinging that thing.
swinging on nothing.
No, no,
Don't have to tell me, folks. I'll bet you that'll get it.
Swinging on nothing,
swinging away,
swinging on nothing,
swinging that thing.
swinging on nothing.
No, no,
Thank you all. Happy Veterans Day. Please join us for receptions. Thank you all very much. Happy Veterans Day.